So welcome to the video lecture for the subject software testing. So today I'm going to take a topic from Unit 1, which is different levels of software testing. I am Dr. A.R.Arunachalam, professor in the Department of Computer Science at Dr. M.G.R. Educational Research Institute Phase 2 campus. So let's get into the video lecture. So today's agenda is about we are going to talk about the important levels of software testing. No? So what are the levels of software testing? So in my previous video lecture I explained about what is software testing, and I also gave some real-time examples. So today in this video lecture we are going to see about the different levels of software testing. So in that there are 4 levels, which is unit testing, integration testing, system testing, and then we are going to talk about the acceptance testing. See, all these 4 kinds of testing we are going to see today through this video lecture. Right. So first you need to understand what are all the different levels of testing. Okay. So I mean, a level of software testing is a process where every unit or component of software is tested. So obviously, I mean, when you're building a software, it comprises of different modules or different components. Okay, so you need to test either every unit or maybe a component of the software. So there are very many different testing levels are available, which will help to check the behavior and performance of software testing. Okay, so you need to go at different levels. So today we are going to see about 4 levels of testing. To start with, we are going to see about what is unit testing, and then we are going to see about what is integration testing, and then what is system testing, and then finally we are going to see about what is acceptance testing. Okay, so these are the different levels of software testing. The first one is the unit testing, which I already told you, and then we are talking about the integration, and then system, and then the acceptance. So these are different levels. So to start with, first we are going to see about unit testing, which is nothing but you test the individual components, or you call it as the individual modules. When you are building a software, the software comprises of different components or maybe different modules. Now take for example, you might have 3 or 4 modules. So unit testing is where you test individual modules, and then integration testing is where you need to do the testing when you integrate 2 or more components. No, when you're when you're having 3 or 4 modules, and when you're trying to integrate all these modules, you need to test the integrated component. And then finally next you need to see the system testing, where you are going to test the system as a whole. And then finally acceptance testing is where you test the final system. Okay, so who will be doing what kind of testing? So that's what we are going to see through this slide. So unit testing is where it is especially done by the developers. So developers are nothing but the people who are developing the particular software. So they will be testing the they will be using the unit testing, where they will be testing the individual components. And then integration testing is especially done by the testers. And then you will talk about the system testing, where system testing is especially done by the testers again. And then finally acceptance testing is done by the end users. So these are the 4 kinds of people, these are the 4 kinds of people who will be doing the different levels of testing. So first is, as I already told you, unit testing is where you check the individual modules of the source code, whether it is working properly or not. So where your software comprises of different components, or maybe you call it as different modules. So you're going to test the individual modules of the source code and see whether the individual components of the source code are working properly or not. So testing each and every unit of application separately by the developer in the developer's environment, so which is very important. So unit testing is especially done by a developer in the developer's environment, where the developer will be testing each and every unit of the application. So either you can call it as a module testing, or maybe you can call it as a component testing as well. So next is integration testing. As you all know, in the previous testing you are testing the individual components. Now the next stage is you need to integrate all these components. So integration testing is a level of software testing where individual units are combined and tested as a group. Now take for example, in your project you have 5 or 10 components. So individually each and every component has been tested in the unit testing. So now you need to integrate all these 5 or 10 components as a group, and then you are testing that group as a whole. That is what is happening in the integration testing. So integration testing is a process of testing the connectivity or data transfer between a couple of unit tested modules. So when you are integrating 2 or 3 modules, obviously the data is going to flow in between these modules. So you need to test the connectivity or maybe the data transfer, how the data flows between each and every module has to be tested. So again, integration testing is divided into 2 or 3 maybe. One is the top down approach, and next is the bottom up approach, and then you call it as a sandwich, which is a combination of top down and bottom up. So first we will see about what is top down approach. So in top down integration testing, you start with the high level modules and then you go with the low level. Okay, when you are having a project, you will have an hierarchy where you will have the high level modules and then you will have the low level modules. So as per the hierarchy, in top down, that is nothing but you are testing from top to down. That is, you are going to test from the high level modules to the low level modules. And in bottom up integration testing, this is exactly vice versa of top down, where you are going to start from the bottom and then you are going to test the high level modules. So first you are going to test the low level modules and then you are going to test the high level modules. So that is the only difference here. System testing. So system testing is a level of software testing where a complete and integrated software is tested. So now in unit testing you have tested the individual components, and in integration testing you have tested the how the integrated components have been tested, and now as a system, as a whole software, you are going to test. And then testing is fully integrated application. This is also called as an end-to-end scenario testing. So you are going to test the end-to-end scenario. And then to ensure that the software works in all the intended targeted systems. So when you're building the system software, that software should work in all kinds of systems. So that you're going to test whether the software is working fine in all the intended targeted systems. And then you verify thorough testing of every input in the application to check for the desired output. So you're going to test the input and then you're going to see whether the desired output has been achieved. So that's what is happening with the system testing. And then we are going to talk about the acceptance testing. So acceptance testing is a quality assurance process that determines to what degree an application meet end user approval. So this is especially done with regards to the end user. So to obtain customer sign off so that software can be delivered and payments may be received. So I mean, once the end user has been tested with the particular software, so now the software can be delivered to the people, okay, and then it can be delivered, and as well as the payment can be received. So when you're talking about the types of acceptance testing, there are 3 kinds. One is the alpha, second is the beta, and third is the gamma. So alpha testing is especially done in-house by the developer who have already developed the software. So the person who develops the software is the developer. So alpha testing is most likely performing usability testing, which is done by the in-house developers who develop the software. So alpha testing is especially done in the in-house by the developer. But that's not the case with the beta testing. Beta testing is especially done by a limited number of end users before the delivery. I mean, before you deliver the software to the end users, you test the software with some limited set of end user, and based on the feedback and response, you make some change requests which could be fixed if the user gives feedback or reports defect. So if the end user reports some kind of defect in the particular software, that software can be corrected or maybe rectified, or maybe the bugs can be corrected, so that software without any bugs reaches the end users. And then gamma testing is done when the software is ready for release with specified requirements. So I mean, gamma testing is the last final testing where when the software is ready for release with the specified requirements. But this testing is done directly by skipping all the in-house testing activities. I mean, gamma testing is a testing where you skip all the in-house activities and directly you test at the customer end. Right. So these are the different levels of testing. So through this video lecture, we saw the different levels of software testing. We started with the unit testing, and then we saw about integration testing. So unit testing is where you test the individual components or modules, and then integration testing is where you combine all the components as a group and you test the entire group. And then system testing is testing the whole system, and then acceptance testing is the final testing which is done by the end user. So this is all about this particular topic. Thank you all.